reaction to this incredible win for United here. This place was buzzing. There's still a great buzz and atmosphere around it as people are going off into the Manchester night. The home fans at least celebrating. You can see the Liverpool fans behind me just being kept in. But that was a display full of grit, determination, pure heart from United. That was really needed after those 2 defeats to open up the season for Erik Ten Hag's side. So, Nick, I'm going to come to you first. What a display, what a win. What do you think about that from Manchester United today?
You couldn't draw up a better situation, a better way when your first win is also a statement win. And if you're Erik Ten Hag, you're looking around and look, they got some breaks to go their way. Starting from the starting lineup, Andy and I were talking about this off air. I thought Fabinho not being out there was an interesting, of all the players to not play, an interesting player to miss out. Ten Hag can now claim he pushed a lot of the right buttons. Taking Harry Maguire out was brave. Keeping out Ronaldo less so because of the way it works his system. Martinez stood up for him, for all that talk about him being 5'10". I think he had 5 clearances and a couple of block shots. And perhaps I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle because Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, they all had great games. But how about a first huge Premier League start for Tyrell Malacia to go up against Mohamed Salah? And I'm not going to say he was in his pocket, but he was about as much as that was going to be through the first hour of the match. And he was right on his back. He was right on his back, and he forced Salah to be a playmaker. And you'll take that when you're talking about a Ballon d'Or candidate. So I absolutely think that if the Premier League wanted its storyline to be somewhere after 3 weeks, it's Liverpool below Manchester United in the standings with both of them on the bottom half, and Man City's not even in first.
Andy, your reaction to this, because Liverpool, they were on a 21-game unbeaten run in the Premier League coming into this game. They're not used to losing, a very strange display from them. But as we said, a huge moment for Erik Ten Hag and those players Nick mentioned there. Malacia coming into the lineup, Scott McTominay, Rafael Varane, Alanga. It was just really good to see his changes obviously worked and got the big result in the end. They held on at the end, but they were good value, I think, for that 2-1 win.
Yeah, the word I keep coming back to is juxtaposition. The juxtaposition of what we have heard from Manchester United fans the last couple of weeks since the season began to what we saw on the field today, what we've seen from United to what we saw on the field today. And I think also what we've come to expect from Liverpool and what we saw from them today. It was a real, I don't know if you want to say Jekyll and Hyde, but Liverpool having the injuries that they've got, obviously, I think played a huge part into this. And so for anybody that wants to say, oh, Manchester United, they're back. And we had a little conversation before the game, and I jokingly said, United fans kind of think they're one big win away from being back, from being fixed to everything is being all right again. Obviously, this is a big win. I don't think it fixed everything, though. And to kind of make that point, I would just say, one, the injuries, obviously, for Liverpool. But two, it was smart from Ten Hag to, I don't know if this is the right word, but to allow the long balls from David De Gea, not trying to build out of the back quite as much the way that they did against Brentford. We saw how they struggled with that. It was just a much more, I think, mature and responsible approach from United in this game, with Ten Hag a little less insistent on them playing out of the back. So it showed, I think, a willingness to be flexible from him, and I think that's going to be important, especially this first season, if he's going to survive it, get through it, get to the other side when potentially, the good times can come for United, because he's going to have to piece together a lot of victories like this season. They're not going to dominate a lot of teams, especially the big teams in the Premier League this season. So I think he showed a lot in this game, and I think his players probably showed him a lot as well. He questioned them, hammered them this week in the public with comments, but also with the extra running since the game against Brentford. So very, very positive responses coming out of Old Trafford from the Red Devils. Big worrying times, I think, for Liverpool. You can say it's because of the injuries, but the fact is they have 2 points, 0 wins from their first 3 games. They're not out of the title race, but they are in a big hole.
No one really saw that coming, did they? So we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to discuss the tactical play here. And it was, again, pure fight, pure grit from United. And this game is always about that. But they haven't showed that at all this season. So it was a huge surprise, I think, not only for United to win, but the way they won, the way they ground that kind of belief from somewhere after such a tough opening few weeks this season. Okay, a lot of comments coming in. Keep them coming in the chat. We're going to get to a few of those in a minute. I'm going to chuck a question out there. Anyone watching? Who was the man of the match? There's a few candidates there, obviously playing for Manchester United, but Nick Mendola, going to come to you. Anybody stand out for you in particular? Defensively, I feel like we're going to pick a few.
Well, listen, I think you could argue for 3 or 4 players. I'll pick one in Malacia. I just think to come into that situation in that spotlight against that opponent and that particular piece of that opponent, he was my guy. But you can pick a lot of guys because of how they responded to what happened last week. And I know Andy, from reading his player ratings, would say something similar. So that's that's where I'm sitting. I look at what they did, especially with Malacia and that last save. I know Salah scored late, but the save before that De Gea made was just a really good moment for him. I thought he controlled his box as well. So that's my honorable mention.
Okay, Will Calahoch says that Martinez and Varane were outstanding. Don't disagree with that. I think Harry Maguire is going to struggle to get back into this team. And a lot of love for Lisandro Martinez. I mean, Andy, for me, he set the tone early, right? He clattered into Mohamed Salah within the first minute, got up, was in his face, was angry. Salah was putting his hands up saying, I don't really want any part of this. And I feel like the crowd here was just energized. And every time United rattled into challenges in the first half in particular, they just grew in confidence. It got louder and louder here all around us at Old Trafford. So some great defensive displays. Anybody else stand out for you, mate?
Yeah, I think with Martinez, really quickly, I think it's going to be important to remember that this is an acclimation period for him. He's going to have really good games against teams that are much more, I think, possession-oriented, ball on the ground, the way that Liverpool are. We saw how he struggled against Brentford when, they went long and I think a lot of defenders will struggle against the way that Brentford played this season. Anthony Martial, though, to me, really stood out. I think, one, just for the fact that, he is comfortable and fairly natural operating as a center forward. And it's so clear that this United team, whatever you think of Ronaldo aside, is missing a player in that role. And the way that he got on the ball so quickly after he came on at halftime and just slotted it through to Marcus Rashford for the second goal. I made a little quip in the player ratings, and I'll be curious to see how some people will take that. But it's a play that I don't think Ronaldo makes in that situation. One, I don't think he's in that position to win the ball back to pick it up. But two, the through ball is probably not the first place that he's looking either. And so it's just, I think, having a player to play that role in that position in this team, pushing Rashford out to the left wing where it's so clear he's so much better, I think unlocks a lot of things for this United team. Like, they don't have all of the answers. They don't have everything fixed, but I think they learned a lot about, right? Ten Hag learned a lot about the squad and the players that he's got to work with today.
A lot of great comments and questions coming in, so keep them coming in, guys. I can see you chatting amongst yourselves about where did Liverpool go from here, who stood out for Man United. But Norman said Martinez played like his life depended on it. I actually wrote that in my analysis on Pro Soccer Talk at NBCSports.com. So we are kindred spirits, my friend, because I just think that just really life into the entire United defence, midfield, once they saw him launching himself into those challenges, blocks. I mean, he was cramping up in the second half, the poor bloke. I mean, and then Bruno Fernandes fires one at him and he somehow keeps it off the line. It was one of those displays where United did get a bit of luck as well when we look back on it. But I think they deserved that luck from their endeavour and just getting on the front foot. Like we said there, in the second half, we assume Malanga came off of an injury because he was really good and just had Alexander-Arnold on toast, didn't he, in the first half, time and time again. He came off at half-time, Martial came on, Rashford went out to the left, and I still think he looks more comfortable as well out on the left, and it worked well. And what I loved is that I kept telling you two, I've been watching Man United closely in pre-season. They are so much better with a fluid front three with Rashford, Martial, Sancho, Bruno just in behind. And this kind of proved it now. I'm not totally dismissing Ronaldo for all he's done for the club and all his quality, but this was a display where you looked at it and you thought, you know what? I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I just don't see him staying around now. And I think up until this point, we just kind of assumed, he probably will stick around. He probably will start up top. But when those players who are playing instead of him put in that kind of performance, yeah, that's a huge, huge statement. Okay, there's some more comments and questions coming in here. Dylan says, do Liverpool get top 4? And he predicts they don't get top 7. I mean, is it too early in the season for that, Nick Mendola? It's worrying.
Yes, it's 100% too early. They were up there with Arsenal as an XG leader. The guys they put out there, obviously that's the midfield is a bit of a mistake in my opinion. We don't say that a lot about Jurgen Klopp. They're missing Thiago Alcantara, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. They may sell Naby Keita. I think they may rethink that at this point. I'm missing a midfielder. Thiago, did I already say him? I don't know, but they're missing Fabinho. This is a very good team. They're going to win a lot of games. But, and I want to talk more about Liverpool, but this also makes me want to make a point about Ten Hag. He is about to put one of the best, very best midfielders in the world in front of it. And if Lisandro Martinez wants to play that aggressive game, Varane is going to be more than happy to hang out back there with his old pal Casemiro. There's already instant chemistry there. Again, they're going to struggle at times this year. They don't have the depth. They're thin. But the point I made in my piece at soccer.nbcsports.com is that you have to take a look at this schedule and you'll think to yourself, they'll get at least one more win against a Big Six side this year because of the talent they have. And today is a day to talk about Ten Hag. He pushed the right buttons. He made the right sub. And that's extremely brave to leave Harry Maguire and Cristiano Ronaldo out of the... I mean, that is extremely brave. What if they lose 5-0 today? Honestly, and I think we all saw that as a possibility. Let's pat him on the back. And you could tell how fired up he was after those goals. So credit to him.
Okay, we got a question coming in here from Espen saying, hey guys, what do you think United can do this season if they manage to get some more pieces put into the window? This basically kickstarts United's season. I mean, that's fair enough to say, right? And Casemiro was sat just behind me at Old Trafford. He was lapping up the applause from the fans, and the United fans here had some chants to Jordan Henderson, not very kind ones, saying that you're just the rubbish Casemiro, essentially. But adding him in, and then what, Andy, adding a couple of... one more forward, maybe? Do they need a forward? Do they need another centre-back? Maybe if Maguire leaves? What do they need to take that next step and get back into the top four?
Center forward, I think would be a priority. Martial, obviously, we've already talked about him a little bit. I think they need a little bit more from that position than he's going to give you. I think also another central midfielder as well, though. And on Casemiro, obviously a very, 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 very good and accomplished player coming into that team. He will not fix everything that's wrong with United, though. And so I think that if you look at the setup that he had at Real Madrid with two, generational talents in central midfield playing ahead of him, and Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, it's not to say that they made Casemiro the player that he appears to be today, but obviously makes life a lot simpler and a lot easier for that defensive midfielder if you're not the one that's got to unlock opposing midfields and defenses. And I just look at the rest of that Man United midfield. Aside from Bruno, I don't know where the ball progression comes from. I don't know where the chances created come from still in that team. Obviously, you can get it out wide, and Sancho was really, really good one-on-one, and I think he showed that today. Rashford good making those runs inside as well, but I still feel like they need another and maybe it's Christian Eriksen. Maybe he's already on the team, and there's going to be maybe a relearning period for Eriksen, and he will slot into the middle of the field, but then that's going to hurt them a little bit defensively as well. So everything with the pieces that they've got at their disposal already, and every player that's potentially available to them, you've got to have a little give and take, I think. If you're Erik ten Hag, you're going to get a little bit more possession with a player like Eriksen, but you're going to be a little bit more exposed defensively. So it's about finding, I think, that right balance for every single game. It's not one answer fits all. And clearly he got it right today against Liverpool.
Got some really good questions coming in. Keep them coming in. We're just going to keep rattling through these. Jaime Morelos says, does Ronaldo leave now, knowing he's behind Martial and the other younger options when healthy? Nick, I joked David Ornstein was sat alongside him in the press box here, and we're like, is Ronaldo fourth or fifth choice now? I mean, it's tough for him to take. So what does he do? That's a really good question.
Well, I was trying to see if he was a Madame Tussauds wax figure, because at certain points they shot him on the bench, and I'm like, it's a little bit like that old Will Ferrell, but you didn't blink, do you? Like that. I was waiting, like, is he breathing? Are we sure he's okay there? I think he needs to leave anyways. I think they want him to leave. They just have to get the right offer for him, and that'll be the question. He is one of the best players to ever play the game, and someone's going to want to put his name on the back of a jersey. But if you're arguing for the success of the team this year, I mean, you saw it today. And I know Alonga was okay. I wasn't as high on him today as you were, but I think Alonga is going to play a lot less if it's going to be Rashford and Martial. And rumors today, right? More reports of Antony potentially coming back in. I think Jadon Sancho is a fantastic player. And you guys know I've been as high on him going back to his Dortmund days. So if I'm Ronaldo, I'm wondering, am I going to adapt to myself to play at that level? And I just can't imagine he is. One more thought on Casemiro, by the way. He's so good in the sort of maybe Rodri sense with a little bit of edge that it'll be a guy like Eriksen, a guy like Donny van de Beek, and Bruno Fernandes. They will be able to play in a different way. But again, this goes back to Andy's point. Adapt. It's going to take some time for them all to get comfortable together.
but he's going to be winning the ball back so often. And when you've got players of that quality
Yeah.
on the ball, just spraying it around, it makes a lot of sense.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.